Welcome to the Revere Veterans Corner. We have the Revere Veterans Service under the direction of Nick Boa and the Revere Allied Veterans Council. And today we have a real special guest. She came all the way from the State House. She's my representative and your representative. And she represents the cities of Chelsea, Revere, and Saugus. And I would like to welcome Ms. Kathi-Anne Reinstein from Boston.
Thank you, Morris. I actually work in Boston, but I came all the way from Ensign Street in Revere this morning to come see you. So thank you so much for having me.
Right. And before we start with you, Kathi, I'd like to read some accolades about you, if I may.
Sure.
Kathi has been the representative for 8 terms, and she's represented the 16th Suffolk District, which includes portions of Revere, Chelsea, and Saugus. She's also a graduate of Revere High School. And Kathi was elected as a state representative in 1998 at an early age in her 20s. And she's been there for a large number of years. So Kathi, before we start, please let the people know what your future plans are.
Oh, well, my future plans are, I've been very honored to once again get reelected to serve the people of the 16th Suffolk District. And we were just sworn in last week or the week before, and we have a lot of work ahead of us in the next 2 years. And I've been very honored to be a part of Speaker Bob DeLeo's leadership team, and we've tackled a lot of aggressive issues in kind of dire economic times that unfortunately are continuing. And, you know, just look forward to, you know, working on issues of where the rubber meets the road, basically, and continuing to tackle tough issues that I think in the end will be better for everybody in the Commonwealth. So we're busy, you know.
Now, I have a few questions here that people have told me to ask you.
Sure.
But before I do that, I had a gentleman come to me this morning about the Soldiers' Home. Mm-hmm. And he's a gentleman in his early, I would say early 90s. And he understands that they are closing the Soldiers' Home, or the outpatient department. That's what he heard. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that for us a little.
Sure. So what we were told, we were contacted by the Soldiers' Home, and we were told that unfortunately they gave us a heads up that they were going to be eliminating their outpatient services. The way it was explained to us was that the outpatient services, they serviced, I don't even think they serviced, it was between 80 and 90 people per year. So economically, they said because there's other health care options now in the area, whether it's neighborhood health care or we have a Beth Israel and we have, you know, Mass General offices in the area, they said that they're not servicing as many and the cost is high, and therefore they're allocating their services other places. So, I mean, if anyone has any questions, they of course, they can call our office at 617-722-2180. We can try to get further information, but that's how it was explained to us.
Right, but this gentleman also asked me if I may just ask
Sure.
this, Kathi. On the elderly, of course, most of the veterans are elderly in World War II. That will create a burden on them. Some of them don't drive, and if they can't get to, like, let's say, there used to be one in Lynn, and there one in Brock, and one in Jamaica Plain, and one in West Roxbury,
Sure.
and one in, I believe, in Boston, and on Cross Street, or local Boston. If they cannot drive, is there some way for them to get there? I think there's some kind of transportation that they could use, like the taxis that they have in Chelsea, maybe.
So I'm not sure. How do they get to the Soldiers' Home now? They have to have transportation to get there?
They can get there by bus. There's something now, but there's a bus that goes up
So
there.
they take the MBTA bus?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with everyone's health care options that they have, but again, whatever your insurance is, I suggest that you call them and find out where you have doctors that cover your needs under your insurance plan, and see if there's anything local. I'm not, again, this was something we were just kind of given a heads up on last week, and I'm not familiar with different health plans, and I understand there's a lot of people that do the VA, so they have to go into JP or they have to go into Boston.
Yeah, like myself.
Right, so I don't know if, I mean, obviously we all have health care in this state, so if there's another, you know, the Soldiers' Home is saying there's other healthcare options available. So my suggestion is to get in touch with your healthcare providers to find out what those options are.
Right, and if they have any problem,
or the Soldiers' Home too.
right, if there's any problem, they could call Nick Boa at the Veteran Affairs.
Sure, Nick is wonderful.
Right, and
Nick
he
is
will make sure
absolutely
to help
wonderful. Yes.
Okay, I also understand you are also the first vice chairman of Veteran Affairs?
Yes, I was lucky enough to be the first vice chair. I'm not anymore, but when the committee was first established on Veterans and Federal Affairs, I was the very first vice chair. Yeah.
And what did you do exactly as the first vice chair?
We just, you hear bills and we go through different things. I mean, what we've been lucky to do recently in May, we enacted the Valor Act.
Right, I was going to get to that. Could you expand on that?
Sure.
For us?
I mean, so basically, first with the Committee on Veterans, there's, thousands and thousands of bills that come before the legislature for consideration, and there's hundreds that are relative to veterans. So the legislature felt it was important to have a specific committee that looked at veterans to give them the right attention they deserved. Instead of having these veterans bills in different places, whether they are public service or public safety or, health and human services, to put them all into one committee. The Speaker does an annual Veterans Agent Luncheon that we just had, that Nick Bua was at, and Ira Novoselsky was there, and he's done that every year for over 20 years. The Valor Act, to go into that, it was signed into law. It was enacted on May 31st of 2012, and it's called the Valor Act, Veterans Access, Livelihood, Opportunity, and Resources. It basically sends a message to the veterans to let them know that we know they're out there and we appreciate all that they do. Massachusetts actually has the best veterans coverage of any state in the nation. Having said that, we know that there's always more we could do. We know that we have 37,000 men and women who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan since 9/11. Yeah. And never mind, yourself and so many others who have served this country with distinction. So, what the Valor Act does, it improves the overall quality of life for our veterans. It expands services through the Massachusetts Military Relief Fund. It assists military families in transitioning in and out of Massachusetts and increases the efficiency of veteran service officers. We also have in every community a veteran service officer. Nick Bua is the one in Revere. He's outstanding, and anytime you need anything, every veteran, it's urged when they move into the community, regardless of age, what conflict whatever time they served our country, to go into the Veterans Department and go see Nick. And make sure he knows you're a member of the community and that you can start getting, and your family can start getting the services and the funds that you deserve as a veteran under the state and federal laws.
I heard that the state of Florida, that no veterans should be left homeless. They have special units set up for them where they can live. If they can't afford it, they live there rent-free.
Wow.
That the state of Florida does. Is there any reason for the state of Massachusetts to have a homeless veteran?
There's no reason for anyone to be homeless.
Right.
However,
but when I go to Court Street in Boston, when I go by and I see the veterans outside, they're supposed to be inside in the bitter cold, living out there. Some of them sleeping in the subways, and these are veterans. But there's no reason for them to be there.
A large amount of our homeless are veterans.
I know that.
And a large amount of our homeless suffer some kind of mental illness, and some of those are veterans too, with the effects of what they experience coming home. It's difficult. We struggle with that as a state and as a country, but as a state, as far as homelessness in general, as far as working on different ways that we can get people off the streets, get them to be self-sufficient. This is, the argument of the ages. And unfortunately, what we know is when the economy gets worse, all of this gets worse too. And it's when you need the funding the most is when we don't have it. So It's always a struggle we have. Yeah.
Here's another question I would like to ask you, Kathy, if I may.
Sure.
Can you speak about the recent and future development of Revere and what the state delegation has done to further the city and what it's going to do to improve the city? And before you do, I'd like to say one thing. We have a new mayor.
Yes, he's awesome.
Dan Rizzo, who was elected, and he's doing a fabulous job for the city. So anything the state can do to help him, I'm sure he would appreciate it, and so would the people of Revere.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Mayor Rizzo hit the ground running. For the first time ever in the history of our city, we have a director of economic development.
Right.
In the person of John Festa, who is outstanding.
Excellent.
And I think, we're finally putting economic development where it should be, and that's in the forefront of what we need to do to grow the economy and to grow revenue for this city. And Mayor Rizzo and John Festa and the state delegation and our congressional delegation are all over this and helping us. We've had a lot of successes, even given our economic struggles. Revere was awarded a $1 million grant from Mass Works infrastructure program to create the pedestrian bridge that we now see under construction on Revere Beach.
Right.
Actually, the south garage, the south parking garage that was built as part of that too, it's a $55 million project. It was completed in June, and we would never been able to get any of that done without the hard work of Congressman Ed Markey. He did yeoman's work securing the funds for that on the federal government. We actually got one of 52 or 53 Tiger grants across the country for that project. So that's an incredible project, and it actually accommodates close to 1,500 spots. The delegation worked with Mayor Rizzo and John Fester in the Community Development Department to acquire and develop Parcel H in that area as well. And the acquisition of this land is integral in making that whole Wonderland Transit development possible. So we're going to see a lot of great things on the beach, and we're very excited about it. That's been part of a master plan for quite some time. The legislature did a transportation bond bill in March, and we actually earmarked over $20 million for infrastructure improvement projects across Revere. We're going to be repairing and upgrading highways, as well as fund development for a commuter rail station at Wonderland. The bond bill will provide $1.5 million in total statewide funding, and will, statewide, we have $20 million of it, and it will upgrade transportation in Revere and the surrounding communities. We also just got announced that we got a Gateway City Parks program. It's $727,000 that'll be given to us in fiscal year 2014, and then in 2015 we're going to get another $2 million to restore the Harry Delarusso Stadium. And this is really exciting to restore the track and the stadium. It will cost in the vicinity of $4 million. The entire phase and the funding will cover close to 70% of it. This new stadium will help grow big needs for our youth in the city. We've needed an upgraded stadium. We've needed a stadium that is the size so that our track can compete there, and they've never been able to compete there. It's another step toward revitalizing the Central Business District, which the mayor has put down as his priority. The construction is going to begin in July of 2013 and last through June of 2015, and I know that we're having a ribbon cutting, and we're having the grant announcement is happening on Tuesday, February 5th at 2:30 at Harry Delarusso Stadium. So we're so excited about that, and this is because we all work as a team about doing what's good for the community. We're really, really excited about that. There was actually an economic summit done a few months ago that the mayor and John Festa and his whole economic development team put together, and it showcased different places that are available for development in Revere. It was the first time this was ever done, and they brought developers from all over the country to look at parts of Revere, and I know the leads are still ongoing. So again, you know, the forward thinking of the mayor and John Fester in the city, it's a great partnership we have. And of course, you know, with the possibility of gambling coming in, we could see, you know, great economic development and revenue and a job stream coming in soon as well. So we're busy. That's just a sample of some of the things we're doing. We're a little tired. The mayor's working us hard. And we're glad for it. There's exciting things coming in Revere.
We're lucky to have you as our representative doing all this work.
We work as a great team. You know, I'm very lucky to work with Speaker DeLeo and Senator Petrocelli and, you know, Sal DiDomenico, who used to be part of our delegation, and again, the mayor and the city council, the school committee, everyone who volunteers for different things, like yourself, who is a insane volunteer. We need to stop stop and thank you too, because all you do for the veterans, you know, the money you raise, and you're always there. And you know, I loved our conversation before we went on the air, you know, talking about all the things you did. And I always said I thought you were just a volunteer and a joke teller and a DJ, and I learned so much more about all the service you gave to our country, Morris. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
You know.
By the way, before I go into the next question that was given to me, I'd like to issue one out of my heart.
Sure.
Today is the last day about the casinos. I heard that they have the $400,000 they put up. The bid on is going to be the end of the day. I know the Mohegan Sun is going to come in. They want to build one in Palmer.
I believe so, yeah.
The one here in Suffolk Downs. I'd like to ask you, a lot of the people, well, not a lot of the people, but some of the people don't want the casino here.
Okay.
And I think I do want the casino because, look, I'm 85 years old. I'm not going to be around for a long time, and we should look for the future for the city of Revere, because the money that would be coming in would be good for the infrastructure, for the schools.
I agree.
For the streets, for any public works that has to be done. So, you know, people should be able to look ahead and not look backwards, you know. Of course, it might create a traffic problem, but those can be solved. I was wondering, could you let us know how the city of Revere or how Suffolk Downs is coming along as of now? I know.
I'll tell you what I know. So, I mean, you know, when I came into the legislature in 1998, one of my priorities was to try to get casino gaming passed in Massachusetts. So we worked for 14 years, 13 years on that. And it took a long time, but what was paramount to myself and to the speaker and to most of us was to make sure that the local communities had the final say and had 100% involvement in it. We have parts of our laws that other places don't have. We have the most money of anywhere, including Nevada, for gambling abuse and other addictions, which is going to help a lot with people with substance abuse addictions as well. You, as a family member, you can actually go into a casino and put your loved one who has an addiction problem on a list that says they cannot play. No one does that. So we really listened to, and all the people who are the addiction specialists, they were at the table with us. We made a vow to them, myself and the speaker and several others, that said, we will not put any kind of bill forward without you being our partner in this. And they were, and they didn't oppose this bill. You know, it's interesting, we were able to pass the bill. It's been a very long process since the bill has been signed into a law over a year ago. As you said, today is the day that the casino licenses, you have to have your application in. I know it's a very extensive application.
$400,000 worth.
And you have to put down $400,000 of non-refundable money to the state of Massachusetts. They don't get that back, no. We made these licenses expensive. We made them non-refundable. There's things that once a gaming license is rewarded, that gaming entity has to do $500 million in infrastructure improvements to that area. So if something comes to Suffolk Downs and their partners have to do $500 million of road infrastructure improvements.
How much?
$500 million. They have to.
That's $500 million.
That's $500 million. So there's big, you know, $400,000 is a lot to start to say I want to bid. And then, you know, there's a lot involved on top of, you know, so many different things. We have a new state police unit on gambling. The Attorney General has a unit on gambling. We have, you know, memorandum of understandings with cooperation with the local and the state police. We have union jobs that are waiting to get done. I mean, there's a lot coming, and I think we took people's concerns very seriously. And I really believe, and this is what I did when I debated across the state on this for years, that the goods outweigh the bad. I think we have a lot of people who fill the skill sets of these jobs. They are good, union-paying jobs. And when people have a job, they provide lives for their families, and they provide opportunities for their families, and they give back into our local economy.
I agree.
So we're going to see other businesses grow as well. You know, these places are going to need people that deliver, you know, produce and toiletries and, you know, bedding and flowers, and they need people, they need taxis, they need all those things, and that's all going to come, that's going to grow our local economy. I'm very excited about that. I think, you know, and the mayor and John Festa and the city has been a partner in this. When Dan Rizzo first came in as mayor, he was exhausting, quite frankly, and in such a good way. He had a transition team that looked at all different things in the city. And then he said, well, I want to have meetings across the city that we just want to get input from people on what they want to see in a mitigation project, because the city now has to work out an agreement with the casino. And then if they come to an agreement, then we have to have a referendum question, which means everybody will get to vote on that proposal, whether they agree with it. That's paramount in this bill. If it doesn't pass, we don't have a casino. It's very important that people have the say. So the mayor had this first set of meetings just saying, I want to hear what people's thoughts are in case we're missing something. You could put it online, you could call, you could email. So they're still working out their agreements with Suffolk Downs, and they're working on a proposal. So now we're all kind of waiting for that to happen and waiting hopefully to have an election, and hopefully to see a license awarded here, which which would be great for the economy. But we have a long way to go, and the Gaming Commission is very slow and thorough in their process, so I think we have a ways to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a long explanation. Sorry, Morris.
That's okay. No, I'm glad. The people want to hear that.
I have a cold, so excuse me. That's why I keep drinking some water.
As a member of an expanded gaming committee and a sponsor of the legislation, I think that's the one we just
That's the one we just did. I know. We jumped.
Commonwealth and the district particular. As the new legislative session has just started, what do you think will be a couple of the major issues of concern for the people of the city of Revere, Chelsea, and Saugus?
You know, we've got some big issues ahead of us. And that they're going to be controversial. You know, the governor released his transportation plan yesterday.
I heard that.
And, you know, I haven't had a minute to really read through all of it yet, but, you know, with the current revenue that we have, the state cannot operate the transportation system as it is today. Hundreds, I would argue thousands of people from the area came to the local hearings. We had hearings in Chelsea. We had hearings in Revere. We had a big hearing in Revere. We had a big one in Chelsea. We had ones in Lynn. And people came to fight for the bus lines they wanted to stay and the hours they wanted to stay. And we did a temporary fix knowing that we couldn't sustain that. So we have to figure out, and, you know, it's interesting. We all think about our own needs. You know, in talking to my colleagues from Western Massachusetts, they have no public transportation on the weekend. And after 8 o'clock, they have during the week, they have no transportation at all. So we have to look at a statewide approach that's going to try to fix the problems for all of our areas, and it's not going to be easy. This is a monumental mountain we have to climb. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's going to be big.
Well, I got the news on the radio because I don't speak to the governor direct, that there's a $150 million deficit on the MBTA.
Yeah.
And I think there was something like $250 million on road structures and...
Yeah, so the figures I have, I think you're about right? It says the state transportation system needs a $10 billion plus revenue boost.
Oh, way off.
So to fully fund operations and implement the governor's plan, the state would need to raise an average of $1.02 billion per year in new revenue within the next 10 years. So if no action is taken, the Transportation Board says that they'd have to take a number of steps to address it, the deficits, including increasing registration fees by $53, vehicle inspection fees by $19, licensing fees by $85, increasing tolls by 5%, MBTA fares by 5%, and cutting $40 million in service from the MBTA. So, you know, if we don't find some kind of way to raise the revenues, we're going to have to raise fees and licensing fees and tolls, which, you know, I file bills every year, and actually the first bill I'm filing today for this new session is a bill as far as toll rates on the North Shore. I mean, you know, we pay tolls when other places don't pay tolls. So,
that's right.
You know, we're not going to see any relief or keep them at the things that we are if we're not funding in any other way. So, you know, we have to find a way to raise this money over the next 10 years. I'm not married to any suggestion. I'm open to suggestions if people want to email me. If you go on www.mass.gov, click on the legislature, click on my name, you can email me there if there's any, you know, suggestions. It's easy to say no. I mean, none of us want to pay more. None of us want to pay more for our license or pay more for a toll. I know I don't either. But we have to find out a way to fix the system. And it's not just including the T. You know, we're talking about our road and bridge repair. We have to maintain what we have or we're going to be in serious trouble. So the governor lined out different plans, you know, that we're hearing a lot of feedback on. I know a lot of people are not liking the tax per mile on your gas. I know people are going crazy about that. So, you know, there's different options out there, and, you know, I'm always interested in hearing about different options. Another big dramatic thing we're looking at is, unfortunately, after the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, when those children and their heroic teachers lost their lives. We have to look at something, and, you know, Massachusetts has very strong gun control laws, and we have to try to be thoughtful about it and calm about it when we have this conversation, because, you know what, we have to look at the gun side and we have to look at the mental health side. And we have to try to put everybody at the table, and we can't, you know, the words we're hearing, whether it's from very left gun control advocates or very right people like the NRA, everyone's in their corners and they don't want to compromise. And we need to compromise because neither one of them are right. We have to try to find some kind of medium. And actually it really does have to start at the federal government because there are different laws in different states. So when we talk to our police chiefs around here and our detectives around here, what we find is obviously we don't want to go after legal gun owners. We want to go with those who obtain the guns, who have these guns illegally and commit crime. But what we find out is in a place like Maine, they have much softer gun laws than other parts of this country. So people will go into Maine and legally buy a gun and then illegally use it here or illegally sell it here. We can't control what goes on in Maine. Right. So we need to figure this out. It's a challenge.
You can go to a gun show. This is what I heard on the radio. You can go to a gun show and buy as many guns as you want in some places.
Yeah.
You don't have to even give you a name. Just pay them the cash and walk out with the guns.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is,
what about
closing
the
loopholes
Kathy?
around the gun shows.
A registration. In other words, if you want a gun, just like you drive a car, you got to have a license. Register the gun.
Those are some of the options floating.
Right, that you cannot buy a gun without.
And you know what? We're not going after everybody who owns a gun. I mean, I'm not. I think we can find some happy mediums here, and I think no one needs these automatic weapons. We don't need those.
The only ones that should have them are the law enforcement agencies.
I actually agree with you. So the semi-automatic, and so we have a lot of soul searching we have to do, and you know what? The mental health people have to come to the table. And there's a need for both sides to come to the table and have this discussion. And it's not going to be none of these are easy discussions. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night, and I'm sure keeps a lot of and certainly a bunch of my colleagues up at night. These are tough decisions. These are tough votes. It's what I'm elected to do, and it doesn't make me popular sometimes with certain parts of my constituency. But you know what? Instead of just passing the buck constantly, I mean, for years we passed the buck on how we fund transportation, and now we're in a crisis. So we have to do something about it, or the whole thing's going to crumble. That's not easy, but we have to do it, and that's what we're preparing ourselves to do. And we have to look at funding just for transportation. There's a lot of other people and other agencies and other entities that want funding too, but this is the time for transportation now, and we need to focus on it. And it's the time now to discuss these hard topics of transportation and mental health and gun control. We have no choice. We have to do it. We can't let another tragedy like Newtown happen, or Aurora happen, or Virginia Tech happen. We need to look at these and try to tackle them.
I think your statement that I read in the paper here answers a beautiful thing. If I may read it to you, it's yours. And you quote Ralph Waldo Emerson, and you said that, "Do not go where the path may lead, but go instead where there is no path and leave a trail," and that's what you're doing.
We're trying to. Thank you, Morris.
So I thought that would be a nice statement to say to you.
Thank you, Morris. I appreciate that.
Okay, and then I'd like to read it. If we do a few more.
Whatever you want.
Thank you. Let's see. We talked to your Ward Farmhouse Chair and Choice Committee on that. Oh, yes.
The Elder Affairs,
Let
right?
me get to that
talk
one
about
here.
that?
This would apply to the senior citizens at my Revere Senior Center. You were also formerly of the House Chair and Joint Committee on Elder Affairs, and there has been any legislation recently specifically passed concerning senior citizens?
Yes. Actually, so in 2008, I was the Chair of Elder Affairs, and I learned a lot. I was always very accessible. I think I spent a lot of time with the elders.
Definitely. And
my father was very involved with the seniors in Revere, so I was too. And I learned a lot. And what I learned a lot, though, is there's a lot of seniors inflicted with memory-related illnesses, and that the hardship that they and their families go through. So, we know that Alzheimer's affects 120,000 Massachusetts residents and an estimated 350,000 caregivers and family members. So that's according to the Alzheimer's Association in Massachusetts. So in 2010, I started sponsoring a bill called the Silver Alert System. And it helps locate an inflicted loved one who has wandered away from their home. So like how we have an Amber Alert if a child is missing or abducted. I wanted to do a Silver Alert, so if a person who had Alzheimer's or memory loss disease was missing, we could, you know, do the same thing, start a Silver Alert.
GPS system on there?
No, it's like a Silver Alert like you see on the TV if someone's
that you push the
missing.
button?
Actually, no, that it's on the TV, so if like an Amber Alert if a child is abducted.
Oh, I see.
So it's like a Silver Alert that you let the authorities know and everyone know, and the news gets involved. So we were able to do that, and that's actually working. And the other one we did, I was a co-sponsor. I was formerly the main sponsor, but let the former chair, she had just retired, Alice Wolf from Cambridge, who was a great chair of elder affairs. I let her be the lead sponsor of the bill aimed at improving dementia care. So as we know, Alzheimer's affects 120,000 people, 350,000 of those are estimated as caregivers. But now the Department of Public Health has to work with the nursing home industry and the Alzheimer's Association to identify what minimum safety and quality standards are for dementia care in their long-term facilities. So a lot of places, there was no standards for this. So now we have to establish standards, including the physical design of the unit, dementia-specific activities such as wandering methods, a therapeutic environment, specialized training for the staff, for the direct care workers dealing with dementia patients or those who are employed at those facilities. And you know, the whole thought is it's going to provide better care and specialized care, and it'll give for the patients and give a better peace of mind and a better quality of life for them and their families. And you know, we're better preparing the care workers too, so that they're not, you know, go into a job and it was something they weren't trained in. So we're giving them the training, we're giving them the ability to help their patients, and you know, and again, it's we want high quality of services for people suffering these diseases and who are in these long-term care facilities. We want them to have a quality care system, and that's what we want provided for them, and that's why we did some of that.
I'd like to ask you one question, if
Sure.
I may, Kathy. You know, I haven't had it, but I know people that do have Alzheimer's, and the people tell me that when their relatives come, they don't even recognize them. And a couple of years ago, I think there was 3 or 4 people that froze to death that walked out of nursing homes or things because they have Alzheimer's and they couldn't find them. Is there a way to have the nursing, like the Prospect House or the Lighthouse, people that have who have Alzheimer's, if they do go out, to put that GPS system on there so they can be found? Some states do that and demand
I know a lot of facilities have that here.
They do?
And certain facilities, like the Soldiers' Home, has those patients are in a different color.
Right.
Because the Soldiers' Home is more of a dorm-like atmosphere that you can walk around. So those facilities have it, but that's why we felt the Silver Alert was important, because all of a sudden, you know, someone can disappear, whether they're at home, whether they are at home with a home health care worker, or whether in a facility. And we've seen it now. You see it on the news. They'll be saying, you know, a gentleman, and they'll explain what he had on, and he was last seen here.
Right.
And that's because of, you know, I'm very proud of that law that I helped pass and write. And I think that we're able to save some lives from people being lost and being caught in the cold. Unfortunately, sometimes you find people too late, but we've been able to help people since we passed that law, so I'm very happy about that.
Right, and talking about the senior citizens, I would like to interject something over here, if I may. There's a lady there, I'm sure you know her, Maureen Sousa, who's been there for 18 years. And tomorrow is her last day, and she's retiring, and she's been a terrific assistant to the administrator, Al Morelli, helping our seniors, at least all the time I was there and the ones that are there. And you said you know her a little bit, so would you say a few words for her?
Well, first of all, our senior center is outstanding. Al Morelli is amazing, and Maureen is outstanding, and I want to thank Maureen for her selfless dedication to the seniors. And she's just, you walk in there and she's funny, you know, she's so dedicated to all of you. She's been just an incredible, invaluable employee for the city of Revere. I think she's going to be missed. I know there's new people coming in, and I wish them luck, but she's tough shoes to fill, and I want to thank you for giving so much of herself for all of us. And I want to thank everybody at the Senior Center for all the work they do. They're really outstanding. We're very lucky to have the people we have in our different agencies throughout the city. We're very lucky.
So I would like to say to Maureen, thank you for all the years you gave us, and we wish you the best. And now we have a new administrator. Her name is Marissa Corielli, and she's going to be the new assistant to the administrator.
And she, I'm sure, will hit the ground running.
Right, and she's a lovely lady, too.
That's what
I've
I
met her
hear.
a few times.
Yeah.
That's good. One more thing.
You got to make sure you keep her in line, though. You got to tell her your jokes and everything, right?
No, that's why they threw me out here, to be on TV.
Oh, okay. All right. Just checking. Just checking.
Also, we have a new president of the council, which you know very well.
Yes.
Would you wish him the best?
Ira, good luck. You know, Ira's a good friend. I've known him since I was a kid, because as we all know, Ira
that's only a few years ago.
Ira is much older than me. He's much, much older than me. Someone who's not much older than me, though, who's much younger than me, is the new vice president of the council, Jessica Giannino.
That's right.
So good luck to her too. And they just
Brian Arrigo.
Brian, yeah. Well, they're younger than me. That's okay. I'm still ranking pretty good in the age thing, though. If Ira and all of them stay, I'm still doing okay. I joke, Ira's a very good friend, but congratulations to Ira as the new president of the council, Jessica as the vice president, and Ashley Melnick got reappointed as the clerk. She is outstanding. We really have a good group of people, so we're very lucky.
Okay, now I want to get down to what the city of Revere has plans.
Okay.
Starting on May the 19th, which is on a Sunday, they want to retire the flags.
Okay.
Could you speak on some of what they do with the old flags, bring them in?
So basically, if you have a flag that is tattered or is a little run down or faded or shredded, it's really not appropriate, actually, to throw that flag away.
Right.
Contact, Nick Boer at the Veterans Department.
249 Broadway.
249 Broadway.
Yep.
And actually, they have a ceremony to dispose of the flags in a respectable manner. And what they do is there's a burning of the flag ceremony, like you said, on May what?
May 19th,
May 19th.
Which is on a Sunday.
Right, and that's the respectful way to give your flag, to throw away a flag that is discolored or torn or anything like that. So a flag like that needs to be disposed of properly, so please contact Nick.
Right, and then on Memorial Day, which is May 27, which I believe is on a Monday.
Yes, we have
at the American Legion.
Great Memorial Day services planned by Nick Bua, and everyone does a great job, the DPW, everyone with the plants, and all of the veterans agents in our city and all the different veterans organizations read the names of people who sacrificed their lives for our country, who are from this great city, and it's a beautiful tribute. And every year, more and more people come, which is the way it should be, because it's not just a day to have a day off at a barbecue. It's a day to remember those who let us do those things. Right. So it's a really nice tribute.
And I would like to show you this, Kathy, if I may. This is the wall that heals, which is the Vietnam Wall.
Okay.
It's going to have all the names on there.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be...
So that's going to be June 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th at the Beachmont VFW.
Right, on 450 Bennington Street.
At 450 Bennington Street, and it's going to be open 24 hours a day? Is that
right,
what that says?
Correct.
So this is the traveling Vietnam War, right?
The wall that heals.
Right. This is incredible, and this is a real honor that this is coming to Revere.
Right, thanks to Nick Boo and the Veterans Organization that did this for us.
We have great veterans organizations in this city, so that's excellent.
And finally, before we close, I would like you to talk about the Columbus Day Parade that we're going to have.
Well, we need to talk about this, too. We should talk a little bit about...
You want to talk about that,
Yes.
too? Okay.
I think we should talk about the Revere Women's Veterans Memorial that Mrs. Marullo
Eileen Marullo, yes,
is working her tail off on. And there's not a monument specifically in this city that is dedicated to the role of women who have fought for our freedom. And Eileen, who's a veteran herself, is spearheading this very ambitious project.
She worked at Walter Reed Hospital.
She worked at Walter Reed. I know we've got a great logo. You've been working with the great people here at Revere TV to help with it. And I think we're going to be, I'm being presumptuous, but we're going to be soliciting for donations and things like that soon, right? And I know if you know of anyone who had a female member of their family serve in any of our conflicts, like contact Nick, contact Mrs. Marullo, so we can make, I know that she's working to try to get this as accurate as possible, and I know she's been working very hard. So if there's anyone who wants to volunteer and help her or has any information for her, please reach out to the Veterans Office.
Right. Also, I understand Eileen has a list of 140 names, and she's going to be our next guest on our next show. I hope
Awesome.
And she's going to be reading off all the names. We're going to read off all the names so the people who Revere will recognize their relatives and honor them.
Yeah, this is a wonderful project. There's not really anything in this city that honors women, and you know, all of us are nothing without our mothers and our grandmothers in this city. We all grew up with good roots, and it's because of them. And we have a lot of women who, just like the men, who work very hard in this city. And Mrs. Marulu is certainly one of them. And they all need to be recognized. And I really applaud her and you and everyone for this very ambitious project. And I can't wait to see this. I'm very excited about it.
Right. So Eileen, when she comes on the show, she will be able to explain everything. And finally,
the Columbus Day Parade. Danny Rizzo, Mayor Rizzo, is working very hard to bring the parade back. He had a breakfast this past October, I think it was in October, to raise funds to bring the parade back, to bring it back for a Columbus Day weekend. And, you know, they're very excited about it, working on it in the city. So apparently we're back and in full bloom next October for the parade.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And I would like to thank you for showing up and for representing me and the city of Chelsea, Revere, and Saugus.
Thank you.
And may God bless all the people out there. May God bless our troops. And may God bless the United States of America. Until the next time, thank you.
Thank you.